One of the reasons that people like you continue to do mundane tasks day in and day out is that you feel like the tasks you're doing are too nuanced and it'd be too difficult to show someone exactly how to do your process. That process is actually one of the most important parts of your business. It's called your intellectual property. Those workflows that you have are actually what's most valuable about your company. So you should be documenting them, except documenting them takes a long time. So in this video, I'm going to show you some amazing software that will let you just work and it will document things for you as you go. Best of all, it's available as a lifetime deal over at AppSumo. AppSumo is sponsoring this video and also saving me hundreds of dollars a year based on the previous tool that I was using that did this same job. All right, let me show you how it works. So this is Guidejar over on AppSumo. And the way this tool works is there's a Mac app as well as a Chrome extension. You can use either or both. And as you're performing a task that you want to document, it will just capture important moments in a screenshot. Then when you're done, you can have it hosted on a website. They'll do that for you, or you get the HTML code. You can also export to a PDF and just email it to a client that might be having a question that you answer frequently, or you can even export it to a video if that's easier. There's no editing necessary. It'll do all of the right tweaks. I'll show you how it works in a minute. But first, I want to talk about where you find it, and that's on AppSumo. So I've got a link down below for AppSumo, and if you click that, it does help me out. However, I went looking for this specific app on AppSumo because it's going to save me a ton of money. I was paying monthly for a similar tool, but why would I do that when I can go to AppSumo and just pay once? I ended up going for the $98 plan here, but if you don't want to spend that much, you can get away with just spending 49 bucks. That's a one-time payment. It's not a monthly recurring thing. 49 bucks, you own the software forever. That's amazing. So let me just show you the differences between the plans, and then I'll show you how the software works. With plan one, you get 10 team members, unlimited guides, and basically all of the features. There's no branding. You can do everything with the software. But the reason I went for plan number two is that I really wanted the Mac app so that I could capture tasks that I do on my desktop. If you don't need that, you're probably going to be fine with plan one. The only other bonus to plan two is you get the help center with a custom domain. So this is basically the guides that you're creating. You can turn that into your own knowledge base without any other software. And you can customize it with your own domain name. So you could use a subdomain, something like, support or help desk, whatever you want to do at your domainname.com. And they will secure that with an SSL certificate. So really, really nice. All right. Now let me show you how the tool actually works. So I'm logged into Guidejar right now. I've got a fresh account. There are no guides created. I need to do one of two things. I have to get the Chrome extension or I have to get the desktop app. So let me go ahead and get that installed. To get the Mac app, I'll click on my icon up here, my little avatar, and I'll go down to download a Mac app. And you can see here, there's actually links for both the Chrome extension and the Mac app. So I'm just gonna install them both. I'll download the Mac app first. And while that's downloading, I'll install the Chrome extension. I'm using the Arc browser, so that's compatible just fine. I'll add it to Chrome. Add the extension. Now inside of my Arc extensions, I'm going to go to pin to toolbar. That way it will always show up over here in the left-hand sidebar. This is the Guidejar extension. Installing the Mac app is super easy as well. We'll just simply drag the icon over inside of the installer, over into your applications folder, and then it's installed. The only other thing you need to do is basically enable it with an API key. It doesn't have a username and password. Instead, you use the API key, which I'll show you how to do real quick. So back in your browser, go up to your avatar and then go down to My Account. You should see the Mac App API Key section where you can go ahead and create an API key if you haven't done so already. I've got mine made already, so I'm just going to copy and paste it over into the Mac app. All right, so here is the Guidejar Mac app. I'm simply going to paste in that API key we just got out of our account, hit save and close, and I'm good to go. All right, let's go ahead and make a guide. I'll show you exactly how this works. I'm going to use the Chrome extension first, and then later on, I'll make another guide using the Mac app so you can see the difference. So I'm inside of a Ghost installation here. This is just a dummy site, but I want to document the process of how to add a new subscriber to a Ghost website. So let's go ahead and turn on Guidejar. To do that, I'll access my extensions on Arc. It's going to be right over here in the left-hand sidebar. I'm going to click right up here and then click Start Capture. All right, now it's capturing my browser. So the first thing I'm going to do is click over on Members. Next, I'm going to click on New Member, and I'll enter in the name and email address of the user. Now, I always like to tag the user based on where they came from. And I find myself entering users in that fill out my Facebook group I ask for their email address when they sign up. So I'll typically just label them like Facebook or something like that. Remember, this is just a dummy site, so you can enter whatever you like. Then I check to make sure that they're subscribed to the right newsletter. So I only want this member subscribed to the Nimble Sound newsletter. So I'm going to disable the audio files. And when I'm all done, I click Save. I can confirm they've been added by going back to the member screen and looking for their name. Perfect. All right, I'm all done making this guide. I'm going to go ahead and turn off Guidejar so I can stop capture. And it should kick me right back over into Guidejar where I can actually see the process as it's documented. So you can see it's got the URL up here. Now I could definitely edit this if I want. I'll just click up here to edit it in a minute. But we'll go through and see what it captured without any intervention at all. You can see it's 10 steps long. So it probably got just about everything. I like the little animation on the screen here. It shows me exactly where to click. So I clicked over on members first, and then I went up to new member. Then I entered in the name and email address. Now the click here is a little bit off. I must have clicked on the wrong part of the screen. And then I entered in a label. Then I made an erroneous click here. I clicked in the notes section. So I'll probably want to get rid of this step. Next, I toggled off the audio files and click save. Then I went back to members and saw my final entry here. So everything that I want was captured for me automatically. I didn't have to go in and capture each screenshot individually. Sure, I could have done that, but chances are I would have missed one of my steps, and then I'd have to go and repeat the entire process to get to the right screen. So now what do I do to make this be a little bit more helpful? Because you may have noticed that in some of the steps, it's like click this icon or click on, I guess click on save is pretty good, but click here, not very helpful. Maybe I want to address it and say, make sure that only Nimble Sound newsletter is enabled. That would be a better description. So to do this, I'm going to go ahead and edit the guide. I'll click up here where it says edit. And now I can go ahead and change all of the labeling and even modify the images to make sure that the correct parts are highlighted. So I think the first one is fine. I'm probably going to just say log into Ghost. Click over here on the pencil icon and let's update this step. And then on step 2, I'm going to tell it to click on members because it didn't read that label correctly. So let's just edit that. Now, normally I'd want to be really descriptive here and say click on members from the left-hand sidebar, but because there's an image attached, I don't have to be quite as particular. Now you might be wondering, what if it gets this wrong? Can I add in another step? And yes, there are these plus buttons in between each step. So I can very easily go ahead and just add in something else. I can even do a capture right here. I really like this little tip call out. So if you wanted to say, hey, make sure you don't proceed to the next step until such and such happens, you can do that right there. Now I don't actually need this, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. But before I do, I want to point out that there are handles over here. So it's very easy to reorganize the steps. This works the same for the screenshots that it takes. So if I wanted to put the call out after step 3, I could easily do that. And then it's right down here. All right, let's delete this one. All right, then I would just go through each step and make sure that everything is as I wanted it. Now it looks like it kind of corrected itself on those initial clicks. Oh no, this one's not where I want it. So I'm just gonna move it over to the label section over there. So it's very easy to move those clicks, but we can annotate on the image itself. So if I click right here, where it says edit image, it's gonna pop this open to a very basic editor. I will admit that this isn't, not gonna be as nice as something like CleanShot X, but that's a desktop application. So this is going to do the job just fine. I can add extra text in right here if I want. We can change the font over here, but there's not a lot of options. I'll make this a lot bigger. Let's do say size 48. Don't forget to click on the button or whatever you want to say. And then we'll resize this text, position it where we want. There we go. We've annotated our image. We can also add 2 different types of rectangles. We've got an outline here that doesn't have a fill component to it. And then there's also a solid rectangle over here. Of course, you can change the color of that as you wish. There's a kind of a third type of rectangle, and that is a blur right over here. So if I add a blur, you can see it added this rectangle right here. And then I could say, I don't want this email address to be displayed. So I just hover over the email address, resize it as fit, and there we go. Now that email address is blurred from vision. There are different degrees of blur, but I find the default is just fine. And as you probably noticed, there are both outlined circles as well as filled circles as well. Getting rid of any of these is super easy. You can see all of the components that have been added down here. So as I delete one, so this should get rid of the circle. If I press delete right now, there it's gone. We'll delete the other circle. So watch right over here, and that's gone, so on and so forth. So very easy to undo the changes you've made. So that's image annotation, not super advanced, but it gets the job done. I saved my changes and you can see that they're automatically applied into the guide. So looking really good. If you want to change the overall look of your guide, you can go up here to font, and there are a few options available. I'm partial to Inter. I know that's a little cliche, I guess, at this point. A lot of websites are using Inter, but I think it just looks good and it's easy to read. So that's why I like it. But these are the other fonts that are available to you. You can't upload any custom fonts, so that is unfortunate. But I don't think that's really the point so much of the guides is to be, 100% on brand. They look pretty good as they are. If you click over here, it's going to hide all of the images, and that just lets you drag the steps around a little bit faster. If you happen to do something out of order, you can easily reorganize it. Now, I've been making these edits in this list view over here, but you might notice there is a beta warning on this view right here, which is a little bit more of like a guide. So here it's saying I'm on step 1 of 9 and I can progress through the steps. If I click here, it's going to be step 2 of 9. And we can go ahead and add chapters, pan and zoom. We can duplicate things. We can, add some actual navigation in with the arrow keys. So there's a lot of different options here. I haven't played around with this view as much. And personally, I'm a little bit more interested in just keeping everything in static text form so that it's, more like a knowledge base that you can follow along with. But if you're a software developer and you're trying to create a guide for your tool, this will be the one that you want to focus on, not so much this. I think this is better for standard operations, standard procedures. But then this view is going to be a lot better for software developers. All right, we can change the title up here if you want. It just kind of went to the first page that I was on. So I can name this like add member to Ghost and then add a description. This is how you add a member to Ghost. And when I'm all done, I've got everything looking the way I want it. I just click up here to finish it. And then I'm going to be able to view this on the web. I can actually export it and share it. Let's check out the share options. So the first thing that's easiest is just to use the link. And so I can simply copy this. I'll open up a private window here, paste in the URL, and you can see that I can share this with anyone on the web. They can just be like, oh, okay, this is how I do it. I mean, how amazing is that? It's like instant help. Over on the left-hand sidebar, we've got a little table of contents. So if you have a really long guide, you can jump to exactly the spot you want and even copy a URL right to that step. So here is the URL that I just copied going right to step 7. That's sweet. All right, sharing the links is great and very handy, but there's some other options that might be appealing to you. And I would actually advise you to do more than just one of these options. So the next one is to embed on any website. This is great. You can put it right on your existing website. You don't have to be sending people off to another domain. All right, totally viable option. And I can see that being something that people want to do. But what I would actually recommend is this export option. And we can actually export to HTML or even just copy and paste directly into apps like, as they give examples here, Google Docs, Notion, Gmail, and Apple Notes. So even if you're going to use this service for your website, back everything up by copying and pasting it or exporting the HTML. That way you'll have your valuable intellectual property, your operating procedures, your workflows will be saved somewhere that you'll always have access to, regardless of what happens to whatever tool you happen to be using. All right, I'm going to export this one as HTML just to show you what it looks like. All right, so I just downloaded the HTML so you can see what it looks like. You can see I've got it running locally here on my computer, and it looks really great. The one problem that exists is that all of these images are simply being referenced from their server. So what you'd want to do is go through and actually download each one of the images, so that way you could relink it later if you ever needed to. Not exactly sure why they did that. It's one kind of feature that I think they could definitely improve on is bundle up all of the assets. And then when I download the HTML, I could have a complete package that would be easy to view. Now, that's not the worst thing in the world because we can always download a PDF and that'll have everything all together, or we can use the copy and paste method. Let's try that. All right, I've got a blank Google Doc right here and I'm just gonna hit paste. I've already copied it from Guidejar, and you can see that it just pulls everything right into that Google Doc. So that's really nice. Now I have everything stored in a medium that I can control. The formatting isn't quite as nice as doing it on Guidejar's website, but at least I have the important things, which is the content. All right, next I'm going to show you how the Mac app works. It's very, very similar, except after you install it, you'll see an item up in your menu bar here. When you click that, you'll want to choose Start Capture. Now, the very first time you do this, it's going to ask for permission. There's a little bit of a bug here. It says it's starting the capture, but as you go, it's going to be like, wait a minute, you need permission. So This first go is not actually going to record. Go into the system settings and then give Guidejar the permission it needs. So I'll just check this box, enter in my password, quit and reopen. And now I can go ahead and start my very first capture. All right, it says my screen is recording, and here I've got an app up called Clean My Mac X. Let's say I wanted to create a guide for someone on how to uninstall an application using this tool. Well, I'd go under Applications and then click on Uninstaller. Then I could find the app that I want to uninstall, and then I would click the Uninstall button. All right, now Clean My Mac X is going to ask for a password. I'll go ahead and enter that. And just like that, the app has been uninstalled. My guide is complete. I can go ahead and choose the stop button up here. All right, now the guide is being created. I'm going to be kicked back over into my browser where I can go ahead and check out that guide. All right, here's my guide. You can see that it didn't get labeled. It's just called New Guide. That's because the Mac app can't get as much information about what's going on your screen as the Chrome extension. So that might answer a question of, if I have the Mac app, do I need the Chrome extension? Let's say if you're doing a lot of web stuff, yeah, you probably should use that. Now, Chrome is not my default go-to browser. I typically will use Safari. If not that, I'll use Firefox. I only have Arc on my system as a third fallback. But if I'm going to do something on the web that I want to document, I'll jump over into Arc so that I can use this Chrome extension. Maybe someday they'll add extensions for other browsers, but probably not. Most companies don't. They tend to stick with Chrome extensions. So let's go ahead and check out the guide here and see how it did. Now you notice that it said click here, which is uninstaller. So I'd probably want to go in and edit this. So we'll say click uninstall. Now, my problem with this image is it's of my whole screen, and it's a little hard to tell what I want people to focus on. I'd love if there was a way to crop the image right inside the app, but unfortunately, that's not available quite yet. So what you'd have to do is actually download the image, crop it yourself, and then re-upload it. Not exactly the end of the world. It's easy to add your own images with this little option right here, but it would be very nice if they built that tool into the editor. So hopefully that's high on their roadmap and they can add that right in. You notice that when you start the capture, it just captures your whole screen. That'd be another nice feature to add, is to maybe be able to select a specific app to capture, because sometimes you have private information on your screen that you don't necessarily want visible in a guide like this. But otherwise, it did a nice job. It went and it selected the app, so I could add that notation in, choose the app you want to uninstall, and then click the uninstall button, and then everything is complete. Enter your password, and then everything is complete. So basically, it works flawlessly on the Mac, with those two exceptions of you have to record the whole screen, and there's no way to crop the images after they've been taken. So solve one or both of those, ideally both, and we're in a really good place with this tool. All right, before we go, I just wanted to point out that there is one additional feature here that I mentioned right at the beginning of the video, and that is the fact that you can have a help center, or as I refer to it, a knowledge base. So over here on the left-hand sidebar, I can click on Help Center, and I can go ahead and add categories, drop in my guide. So let's say I wanted to do, I don't know, just I'll call this demo, and I can add guides right here. Here's my new guide. Make sure it's the right one. Then choose Add Guide, save the changes. Oh, got to add a slug in. Give it a description if you want, save the changes. And then here, I've got a new category with the one guide that I created inside of it. People will be able to visit this, and you can see there's a nice search bar. It looks really good. Here, we can connect our own domain, but here's what it looks like on the front end. Now, I've only got the one guide. It's a little plain, but you can click in here and see how to uninstall an app on your Mac if you want. We can customize the appearance over here on the left, choose your color, upload your logo, add your company name if you want. Pretty full featured here, even has some SEO options. So you can do things like allow search engines to index it and have a favicon. Adding the custom domain is just right up here at the top. So you would add in the domain name. And then once you hit save down here, it will tell you the CNAME that you need to forward over to it. Now, I'm not going to do that right now, but just know that it's very easy to set up your own custom domain name. Really great way to make the guides that you create publicly accessible for your customers if you are doing a service-based business. All right, hopefully this video has been helpful to you and you've got some ideas for ways that you could offload that mundane, boring, repetitive tasks that you're stuck doing currently. If you want some recommendations for ways to get VAs to actually implement some of these tasks for you, I've got a link down below for a website called OnlineJobs, and I found wonderful workers over there. Highly recommend that service. Thanks again to AppSumo for sponsoring today's video. I've got more AppSumo videos coming up shortly. So if you like this type of content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click the notification bell and leave me a comment if you have any questions. If you try out Guidejar and you like it, let me know that. If you try it out and you find some problems with it that I didn't mention, definitely let me know that as well. My name is Dave Swift. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.